So I think there's really only one other Zoom announcement, and then let's get started. And the one Zoom announcement real simply is you can make your choice. Make it fun or make it unawful. I have no idea what your attitude towards Zoom is, but have fun, be engaged. We're going to do lots of stuff. I promise you it is not going to be 2 hours and 48 minutes of either staring at my face or staring at PowerPoint presentations. We're going to have breakout rooms. We're going to talk. We're going to chat. We're going to have all that. If you're somebody with a bad back, or if you're somebody who's staring at a screen gives you migraines, then get up, turn your volume up, take a walk around the house real quick. If you really have to go, then go. We're not going to make you hold it or anything like that. It's honor system. Starbucks is a little bit beyond the pale for what's acceptable, but short of that, do what you need to do to make this next 3 hours work for you. Okay? All right. Any questions before we're off and running?
I don't know.
Let's see. We got Carrie. Is Jeremy coming too?
No, actually, I'm using Jeremy's computer. He's my son. For some reason, I have Zoom on mine, and I can hear people, but they can't hear me. So I'm just using Jeremy's computer.
You can do a temporary change on your name if you want.
Oh, okay.
All right. So let me throw that up. I assume everybody's looking at a PowerPoint presentation, everybody's favorite. Man, remember the days when everybody hated PowerPoint before Zoom existed? Now it's like, woo, PowerPoint, my favorite. Okay, so just a couple of basic announcements for you guys. Okay, good. Yep, okay. So first off, we've got a trailer try it in English, Tim. We have a trailer clean. Ed, do you want to tell us what that involves, please?
Yes, we'll be meeting at the church about 9 o'clock. We're going to take everything out of the trailer, dust it off, repair the bikes, get the nurses' equipment out, look it over, and just make sure that it's ready to go when we go down to camp. We'll start at 9 o'clock, and we'll be out of there before noon. I trust you.
Okay.
So
do we need any type of special skills like carpentry or anything like that, or can schmucks like me show up and help?
Anybody can help.
Awesome.
We're going to carry stuff out. We're going to lay it out in the parking lot there, and then we'll work on the bikes for maybe an hour, blow up the tires, fix some flat tires, tape up some seats, and then we're going to put it all back in there.
Okay. Excellent. Next announcement. You guys know this already, but it's reinforcing. We've got our next 2 trainings coming up. We're assuming at Northwest Church. It'll be June 6th and 13th, same time, 3 to 6 o'clock. Okay, so we'll leave that up there. Oh, forgot to say, it's up there, but just to draw your attention to it, if you can make the trailer clean, just so Ed doesn't freak out because only has 2 names on the RSVP list, please shoot him an email, and you see it there, edsoul@yahoo.com. Okay, so send that to him. If you're planning on staying over at camp, we do have some basic logistics. We need to be concerned about food and how much we're paying and that sort of stuff. So if you're planning on staying at the camp, please email Scott. You see his name there. And Scott, do they need to say other than myself and Monday night or Tuesday night or both?
Yeah, let us know if it's Monday and or Tuesday or both.
There we go.
And they can either email or text Emily or myself. And there's a misspelling in the link on the PowerPoint.
Oh, what should it be?
We're missing the letter C between the N and the K.
That is true. Okay. So SRENCK, correct?
Correct.
Scott, can you do me a big favor and just type that into the chat room for everyone? So he'll put that there in a second for you.
Can I just confirm real quick, Tim, that there's no additional cost whether you spend the night or you don't spend the night? The team fee is $50. So I just want to make that clear so people don't think there's an additional charge.
Excellent. All right. Next up.
Question? Oh.
Yep.
So will you be telling us the schedule? Because I don't know, whether I need to stay overnight, kind of based on the schedule or not. So.
Well, we will tell you the schedule, but that should not impact, because we know that there's people who, for whatever reason, choose not to stay, whether it's COVID, whether it's family, whether it's commitments. So everybody will have the option to go home if they want. There won't be anything scheduled late at night or super early in the morning, but you'll have that option. And yes, we will give the schedule as well, but everybody can make that option. There's no one who's required to be there because of commitments. Okay. You know, Ed, if you're going to tell people to bring snacks, you need to unmute yourself. I showed you where the mute button was, my friend.
Yes, some people may miss out on some snacks or things like that.
That is true. That is true. Ed is the connoisseur of snacks. So, all right. We just made mention of this, but the camp cost is $50. Hannah, I see that. I'll get right to you. The camp cost is $50. We will talk about that. We're going to send an email out at the end, so we'll tell you the different ways to pay that, you know, whether you want to pay it at the next one or anything like that. But just be aware of that. That covers, for example, the food. It covers some of the equipment. But everyone is required to pay the $50. If for any reason that's going to be a hardship, please talk to Scott or Emily. The last thing in the world we want is for someone to be massively stressed out or for somebody not be able to attend because it's a financial hardship. Okay? Let's hit some hand raising.
I'm raising
Hannah.
hand.
Hannah?
No.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, so with the staying over, do you want everyone to stay over, but if they're just not able to, that's fine? Or what's your expectation with that?
There's no expectation because we understand that people have different safety levels and comfort levels and commitments, but we would love to have as many people as possible stay. There's no limit. And we feel that that's the full camp experience, is staying overnight.
Okay, gotcha.
It is a lot of fun.
Okay.
It is. Elena, I see a hand.
I don't need any more. He's already posted there. I was just want to ask the question about correct email. Thank you, though.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Okay. Yes. No idea. All right, and then the last announcement is prayer partner. Most of you already done this, but if you haven't, we believe strongly, and we're going to talk about this, that this is a mission, that this is ministry, that this is spiritual warfare. So, you know, we're not going to hack your email accounts and see if you're sending prayer requests back and forth, but everything short of that, we're going to encourage you as strongly as possible. Get a prayer partner. Heck, get 2, okay? Get 5, whatever. But get yourself some prayer partners who you can share prayer requests. You know, almost every person who's been here more than just a year or 2 can share stories about just the attacks that have happened. You know, they had the time off work and then a new boss who said they couldn't get the time off of work. They had everything cleared and then there was a medical emergency or something happened with their spouse's work or their kids and stuff like that. So get that prayer partner, get that prayer covering, get started on that right now. Okay? So any questions on that one? And if not, what we're going to do is, before we break out into rooms, we have a couple of people who've joined us. So just a friendly reminder, if you can please type your name into the chat. Okay. Full name, please. So please type your full name into the chat, just again, so that we have a record of who is here. And if you can, to the best of your ability, if there's any way to rename yourself so that you're not Dave's iPad, for example, if you can put your full name in the participant, it just makes it everybody to know who we're talking to and listening to. Okay. And having said that, what we're going to do in a second is break out into our rooms. How are we doing on that? We're good? Okay, go ahead and put them in anyways, though. Okay, so we're going to do breakout rooms. We're going to send you guys into breakout rooms, and I'm going to kind of do the math once you guys get there. But my guess is we're going to take about 15, 20 minutes for you guys to talk. Fellowship, you know, if you're a newbie, talk about, hey, what's it like? If you've been there, share. Feel free to talk about the glorious weather, whatever. It's free time to just meet, fellowship, and meet some people that you're sitting around a virtual table with. And then in about 15, 20 minutes, please look, and in your chat in that room, you're going to see a time to get started on prayer. And we're going to give each table, again, about 15, 20 minutes or so. And during that time, please share your prayer request. We take big giant prayer requests, like I pray for it to be a great camp and for the kids to be ministered to. We take itty bitty prayer requests too, like, hey, pray that I can get the time off of work, or I'm really worried about how my dog's going to do while I'm gone and stuff like that. We'll take any and all prayer requests during that time, but go around the table, share your prayer requests, and do actually pray. Don't just share the prayer requests. So if you want to do it all at once or one person at a time, but we want to make sure every single person gets prayed over during that time. Okay? All right, then I'm just going to say a quick word of prayer and blessing. For those of you who brought food, this is your chance to fellowship and eat. So let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for Royal Family, Lord. Our heads are kind of blown a bit right now with everything that we've done over the last year and a half. It almost doesn't seem real that we're actually having a camp. So Lord, we thank you so much that we have this opportunity to minister to children. Thank you for that. Thank you for all the fantastic volunteers, whether they've been doing this for years or decades in some cases, or they've been in Royal Family for a grand total of 22 minutes, Lord. We thank you for each and every person that's here. Bless this food to our body. And Lord, please just help us to have a great next chunk of time getting to meet people and start that community process. In your son's precious name, amen. All right. You should all be going in about 10 seconds. So see you all back in a bit. Go.
Where are we going?
You're going to go into your breakout rooms. It'll happen automatically and you'll be returned automatically. That's all right. So, welcome back, everybody. I'm so glad everybody's back. We had a couple of technical difficulties, but yay, we got our Medford group back in. Everybody give the Medford group a hand for hunting down a workable Wi-Fi system. So yay, Medford group. We appreciate you guys. Thank you. All right. So first of all, quick announcement or welcome or whatever. Speaking of giving high five and applause, everybody say hi and yay. Yeah. To my daughter Olivia, who I'm shoving in front of the camera, who's running tech support. So for those of you who remember when she was 6 and in Sparkies, she's now 15 and in high school. Say hi, Liv.
Hi.
Hi, Liv. Hey, now.
Hi, Liv.
Yeah, I'm going to pay for that later.
Hi, Lydia. I miss you.
Got another hi. We miss you. All right. So what I want to do is, now that we did that and we kind of broke out and we've been informal, let me switch over to Scott. And Scott, if you want to take the lead and give everybody their formal welcome.
Am I still on mute?
There you are. You're here.
Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to welcome everyone to the first training for our 2001 day camp, 3-day mission. We are going to have an amazing time together. And it's to prepare us for what God is going to do through each of us. He will do some amazing things for our kids. You probably all know Jimmy Martin. Jimmy's a little bit older now. Actually, Jimmy's a lot older now. But when Jimmy was 8, he wanted to have lunch with God. Now, Jimmy loves Twinkies. So he put a Twinkie in his little backpack and he thought, God created me, so God probably loves Twinkies too. So I'll put another Twinkie in my backpack for God. He also loves root beer. So he put a bottle of root beer in and thought, God's going to be thirsty. I'll just put a 6-pack in. So off Jimmy goes. About 3 blocks away from home was his favorite park. Boy, I didn't know God lived so far away. I think I'll just stop and take a quick break. So he walked up to a bench and he noticed an older lady sitting on the bench. And it looked like she was just kind of staring at the pigeon. So he sat down next to her and she turned and smiled. And it was the most beautiful smile that Jimmy had ever seen. And he thought, how could I get her to smile again? Maybe she's hungry. So he offered her a Twinkie and she smiled. Again, the most beautiful smile. Jimmy thought, I bet she's thirsty. So he handed her a root beer. And again, just a beautiful, beautiful smile. Well, they spent the rest of the afternoon just looking at each other and smiling. And then Jimmy noticed it's starting to get dark. So he got up to leave, to go home, took a couple of steps, turned around, ran back, and just gave her a big hug. Not only was it a beautiful smile, but it was the most beautiful smile that she had given all day long. So Jimmy runs home, comes through the door, and Mom says, "Jimmy, your face is just radiant. How was your day?" And Jimmy said, "I just had lunch with God." And before Mom could say anything, Jimmy added, "And God has the most beautiful smile." Well, the lady went home, and as she walked through the door, her son said, "Your face is just full of joy. How was your day?" And she just smiled and said, "I had lunch with God." And before her son could say anything, she added, "And I didn't know God was so young." So what touched me wasn't just the story, as touching as it is. What I realized was for 26 years, I have seen Jesus at Royal Family Kids Camp. And he looks nothing like the Jesus in my Bible or the Jesus that may be hanging up in a church wall. Jesus looks like every one of you. So this year, I look forward to seeing Jesus at Royal Family Kids Camp and the amazing things that he will do for our kids this year. So I know we've opened up in prayer, but I thought I would open in prayer one more time before we kick off training. And this was a prayer that was shared by Paul Martin, who is the president for Royal Family Kids Camp. And it's a prayer that comes from the Common Book of Prayer. Almighty God, Heavenly Father, you have blessed us with the joy and care of children. Give us the calm strength and patient wisdom as we bring them up and teach them to love what is ever just and good, following the example of our Savior, Jesus Christ. In your name, amen. So I think with that, I will hand it back to you, Tim.
Unmute. Let's get started then. So we're kind of entering the formal part of the training for the next 2 hours or so. We're going to kind of rotate back and forth. We're going to present some information to you. Good. All right. So let's answer the question, why are we here? That seems like a good place to start. Number one, it's required. We can stop right there. Scott and Emily are going to have a piece of paper, and they're going to put their signature on that piece of paper, certifying that all of you have been in training. So it is mandatory. We've got better reasons than that. But for those of you who say, give me the law, here's your law. All right. Number two, it's training, especially those of you who maybe haven't been here a lot or first time or only a few times. Then we're going to answer some questions over the next 3 trainings. What's the schedule like? Where can I go to the bathroom? What are some of the rules that I have to follow? What time do we get there? What if I have a kid who does a meltdown? How should I handle that? So we're going to give you guys the skills that you need in order to make this the best possible training and to make you the most effective counselor or nurse or upfront person that you can possibly be. All right. Next up, it's a sense of community. I know we're in Zoom, but we're already meeting people. We're seeing people's faces for the first time. We're breaking out into small groups and sharing. So we want to have this be a true team. This is not 65 people individually driving down and showing up 2 minutes before the camp starts and saying, all right, bring some kids, let's have at it, okay? It's us forming a team and everybody worshiping and serving these kids. And the last one, we already talked about it, but it's a spiritual component. So we want to train, we want to share. You know, if something's going on in your life and you need us to lift you up in prayer, please let us know. We'll be happy to. Whether it's as a group, whether it's emailing one of the leaders, whether it's sharing with people, we want to make sure that you've got that prayer covering and that prayer support as much as possible. Okay, so that answers the why. Let's set the Wayback Machine to 1985. Woo! 1985. So I feel like I should ask some of the 20-year-olds if they know who this is. So how about anybody over the age of 25? Hit that unmute button and tell us who it is.
Reagan?
You're right, but I don't think I'm going to give you credit because there's a question mark at the end of that sentence. Ronald Reagan? So 1985, for those of you who are looking at history, you're looking at Ronald Reagan starting his second presidential term in that year. Wow, look at that young, handsome guy graduating from high school. That's me, by the way. Feel free to say, hey, what happened? What happened to that handsome kid? Okay, so that's me back in 1985. And for those of you who are also wondering, yeah, I have no idea why I'm only wearing socks and not shoes in my graduation picture, but I'm pretty certain it had to do with having a fight with my dad and going, I don't want my picture taken. Pretty certain.
Is that the kid that comes in the wallet?
Pretty much, man. That's your default family right there. All right, so 1985, quick quiz. Feel free to type your answer into the chat box. If you can't figure out the chat, just shout it out. So in 1985, how much did a gallon of gas cost?
$2.75.
Go ahead and type it in the chat. Got 99, 25. I heard a 2.75.
$1.75.
We got a Bitcoin bid in there. You're a little before the time, but I appreciate it. All right. So
Less than
gallon
$1.
of gas in 1985 cost $1.09. So we got a prize. So if you said, let's say between $1 or $1.25, take a point. Next up, how much did a movie ticket cost in 1985? Go ahead and type it in real quick. I see lots of $3. That seems to be. All right, a movie ticket in 1985 costs $2.75. So how about if you say anything between $2.50 and $3, give yourself a point. All right, we're getting harder. The average monthly rent is
My computer's cheating. It tells me the answer.
average monthly rent is $375. So how about if you said between $350 and $4, give yourself a point. And then last but not least, we save the hardest for last. Take your best shot. We'll give you a nice window. Average annual salary back in 1985.
Boy, I want to work for Sarah. Or maybe Carla and Felipe.
All right. So I did not realize, since I was on dual monitors, you guys were seeing the wrong monitor. So thank you to all those of you who have integrity, unlike, let's say, Greg. So average annual salary, $22,100. Everybody other than Greg, who said between 20 and 25, give yourself a point. Come on, Greg, learn to cheat better. You should have said 22,000. All right. Did anybody get 4 points? Speak up. Is that a yes? Scott, you got 4 without cheating? Honor system.
Well, I saw the answers, but I didn't, I rounded up.
You rounded up. All right. Who without seeing the answers? Anybody get 3? Any 3s? I see a couple of 0s. That would have been me. Any 2s?
I had 2.
You had 2. All right.
I had 2.
Wait, I see a 3 there. Kiana, you got a 3?
Yeah, until I got someone mentioned the screen, and for the last one I saw it, but
Okay. We'll take a point.
3.
So we owe you one great big giant shiny prize at the next training when we see each other face to face. So let me make a note of that.
oh, okay.
So we believe in prizes here. All right. So much more importantly than Ronald Reagan or even myself or the price of gas, in 1985, Royal Family started. So the first camp was founded by Wayne Tesh in 1985. It started in Southern California, Orange County. In 1988, they did a second camp in LA. And in 1989, they did a third camp in Phoenix. And for the purposes of our discussion, we care most about 1990. That is where the actual Royal Family organization started. So, for example, they just celebrated their 30th anniversary. They marked the start of Royal Family, which we're all a part of now, as 1990. Okay, some basic milestones for them. In 1995, they already had 26 camps. As you see, by the year 2000, they're up to 70 camps, and they'd already served 10,000 campers. In 2005, they've grown to 137 camps. And by 2010, they're up to 175 camps in 9 countries. And we're going to talk about the 2020 milestone in just a second. Okay, so as you see, there's a lot of growth. It's spread out. They have decided to branch out. So for example, one of the big problems in the foster care system is kids aging out. As they get older, it's harder and harder to get activities and services. So they have started up, and our church has one, TRACK, which stands for Teen Reach Adventure Camp. It's for Royal Family graduates, and it's for ages 12 to 15. So we're going to have some people who graduate this year. It's great because instead of saying, hey, hope you have a nice life, we'll never see you again, we are allowed to transition them, to hand them off and say, hey, we may not see you, but there's another camp going on that we would love to point you to that'll give you another couple of years of great, fun, awesome time. Another way that Royal Family is branching out is they're starting mentoring programs. That's where you meet and mentor kids year-round, at least once a month. And that's something we've looked into. COVID kind of waylaid that, but that is certainly something for those of you who want to raise your hand and say, do we do that? We don't at this time, but there certainly is a huge amount of interest in us getting that started in the future. Okay, so we've got a 2017 map here, so you can see how it's nationwide, all across the nation. Let's give a great big giant kudos to the state of Washington. Yay us. You know, yay Bothell, yay Spokane, yay Vancouver, all of those, Yakima. You'll notice, by the way, we've got more camps than Texas. We've got more stamps than more camps than Florida and New York and Pennsylvania combined. So 3 cheers for the state of Washington. We're actually very actively involved in Royal Family Kids Camp, state of Washington. All right. So that's some basics. Here's a quick snapshot in the most recent information that we have. As of 2018, over 10,000 children served, over 15,000 volunteers have worked with Royal Family, over 2.5 million volunteer hours have been given and donated to Royal Family, over $63 million in social capital. That's basically where you say, if we hired someone to perform these services, how much would it cost? So we volunteered and given over $63 million of our time and effort. Okay, over $8 million raised for Royal Family. And again, you see camps nationwide. And our most recent is 128,000, over 128,000 campers. Okay. So I don't want to talk about this part in depth, but just if you decide to Google Royal Family, I want to give you a quick heads up. We talked about the 2020 milestone. Again, not going into in depth, but if you go to Royal Family website, you'll click on the main page and you'll be greeted by this. Okay. And if you want to research this, we can actually give you a much more comprehensive thing. But basically, Royal Family has said, you know what? we still believe in camps. We think camps are awesome. We think lives can be transformed by just a week, or in this case, just the day that we invest. But we're really getting our head around the fact that this is a systemic problem. And so they've decided, they've renamed and rebranded themselves as For the Children.
Oh, really?
And so if you go to the website, this is what you're going to see now. So you're going to notice it's a much more comprehensive, they are involved in lobbying and legislative efforts in some ways. They're really tackling adoption and trying to encourage people to adopt. So you're going to notice, for those of us who have been raised, we've spent 5, 10, in some cases 25 years with Royal Family. It's great. Again, they're not saying camps are bad. They're not saying camps are worthless. They're not getting rid of camps. But they're saying in addition to doing this great work on camps, we realize that we're called to do a lot more than that if we're truly going to make a dent in the foster care crisis we have in this country. All right, so let's talk about Northwest Church for a second. We have had 25 camps. This is going to be number 26. So for those of you wondering how long it's gone, we are actually one of the very first. So Scott, help me out here. Are we or Greg and Sandra, are we number 10?
Number 16.
Number 16, I was close. So out of the 200 plus, we were the 16th camp here at Northwest Church. Okay, we've served and ministered to over 1,000 campers in those 26 years. And again, we have donated over 100,000 hours of our time. And by the way, this is what we could at least somewhat verify. I guarantee you it's more than that, because that doesn't count, people going to Hobby Lobby and going down the aisles looking for glitter for the memory books, okay? It doesn't count the guys testing out the Nerf guns to see which one's gonna work best while not putting out an eye. This is just the stuff that we have a good idea that this is our verified time. So it's probably way more than that, okay? So talking about Royal Family as a whole, they've got 3 statements. I'm gonna put them up here. We've got our purpose statement, the mission statement, the vision statement, okay? And they're there, but what I want to skip to really are the Royal Family values, because this is what you're going to see as you go to camp. Number 1, we treat people royally. We believe that these kids are precious creations that are entrusted to us, and we want to love on them and minister on them and be there for them as much as we possibly can. Even when they screw up, and they will, we handle that in love, all right? Related to that, keep moving forward. Ed, you here? Ed, are you here? I don't hear Ed.
I'm here. Yeah.
Ed's here. Hey, that's Ed. Everybody say hi to Ed. Yeah, everybody has great skills. Yep. Everybody has things that are great, but I want to hold up Ed as someone who I've learned from. All of us can learn from other people. Ed is the master of keeping moving forward. Ed never has given a kid a 10-minute lecture when a 1-minute lecture will do the trick, okay? Ed is the king of, you're gonna do it again? Great, let's not talk again, go have a great time. And so as much as possible, and that is a focus of our camp, is if something happens, let's get past it and let's let these kids have as much fun and be loved as much as possible. If it truly escalates, we'll talk about that later, but as much as possible, keep those kids on track for having a great week, okay? And then the last one, we've talked about this a bit, and that's why I showed you all those pictures. Yes, it was to make you cry and go, ooh, and all the warm fuzzies and all that. But it was also to say those moments matter to kids. Can I have in the chat, all those of you who have had a kid where you were a counselor and they rode a bike for the first time, can you raise your hand? Either, and my hand is up on this, either this or raising your virtual hand. Yep, we got some hands going up there. So we have people who've done that. I had a kid tie his shoes for the first time at camp. You've got people who have swum across a swimming pool for the first time and done that. So having moments matter is critically important, and that is something that we believe strongly. Okay, I am putting up the Royal Family org chart, and do you guys notice anything weird about it? And if anyone wants a hint, I'll say, what direction are the arrows pointing? Medford, you're gesturing furiously, but you got to unmute.
They're pointing up.
It's pointing.
Yeah, it's pointing up. And this is part of the mission and the vision of Royal Family. Is the most important part of Royal Family is what? Those campers. Okay. It is not the board. It is not the founder. Okay. It is not Scott or Emily or Ed. It's not even me, as large as my ego can be. It ain't me. Okay. So the Royal Family and the founders are there to support the individual camps. The directors are there to support the deans so that we can minister to you guys and to add the organization, the structure of the class. The deans, like myself, are here to support the counselors and the staff so that what? So that you guys can love on and have a great week with the campers. So this is called the inverted pyramid. The point is the entire structure is designed to flow up to make it as great as possible for the campers. All right, so can I have everybody unmute themselves? Kind of like the Pledge of Allegiance, only like a billion times more awesome. We are going to read out loud the counselor code of conduct. And I know it's going to be a mess, and we're probably going to have feedback, and we don't care. It's going to be a great and glorious mess for the Lord. So this is Deuteronomy 6, 6, 4 through 9. There are some paraphrases which we'll probably get, so ignore the cross out because we changed them to make it Royal Family, but let's read this together. Ready?
Okay.
Here,
Oh,
Israel,
Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your mind. These words that I command
today,
diligently to your
teach them diligently to your campers, shall talk to them
when you walk,
when you walk,
when you lie down,
and
you rise up,
lay down and
find them as
find them early.
Find them as you shall be as large as your day to guide your day. Your cabin and on your
Write them on the door.
camp.
Having on your
On
camp.
your camp.
That was glorious. Thank you, everybody. That was the highlight of my day right there. Thank you for making a mess for Jesus.
Tim, can you go back to the organizational chart for a second?
Yes, I can.
The other comment that I want to make as leaders, when we're making a decision, we're always asking first, what's best for the campers? And then the next question we might ask is, what's best for the staff? We would probably never get down to what's best for the directors. So our entire focus is on those campers. What is best for them? Thank you, Tim.
No problem. Thank you for stressing that. Yep. Other than snacks. Snacks, we go for what's best for the directors, right?
Yeah. What's best for Ed?
What's best for Ed? That will be one of the recurring jokes you hear at camp, I guarantee you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So for those of you who say, hey, can a week do anything, or even more, can one day do anything to help somebody out who maybe is in dire situations? We want to point everybody to moments in the Bible, okay, where just one instant changed the course of a person's life, and in some cases changed the history of a country or the world. You know, you have Moses at the burning bush, and he gets sent, and yes, he argues, but at the end he says, yep, I will go where you tell me to go. We have Samuel, who 5 times says, here I am, Lord, send me. We have Peter, who meets the Messiah. He's a busy fisherman. He sees Jesus and he says, okay, I'll follow. Tim's paraphrase, by the way, okay? And we even have Saul, who after a lifetime of persecuting Christians, meets Jesus on the road and turns around and says, I will dedicate myself to your kingdom and to your gospel. So we look in the Bible and see these moments where just a single solitary moment can change a person's life. And that's what we hold on to as members of Royal Family, is that day, that week, that moment, that morning fishing, you know, that bike ride, that sitting down at the dinner table, that moment can change a kid's life.
we got there, the people were holding up signs and yelling our names. I didn't think it was going to be fun, but it really was. They didn't tell us that there was going to be horses. It was like a surprise. That was my favorite part. And we went tubing. We could go as fast as we wanted. I was like, come on, more.
The idea of Royal Family Kids Camp is to treat people royally.
It's a really fun camp for kids that are in foster care.
A lot of kids have never had a birthday party before, and we give them a birthday party.
That was like the first time I ever experienced an actual birthday party.
You will leave that week knowing that you're loved.
We had a tea party. We got to pick out dresses, and someone did our hair, and that was really fun.
Right away, we knew that there was something special about her, and we got to see her come out of her shell even more so as the week went on.
My mom and dad would get in fights a lot, and there was this one time when my dad hit my mom. And so when my mom had us, she would drop us off places for two or 3 days. And then when my dad had us, he would keep us, but he would like have his friends over and they would like do drugs and stuff. I went through like a whole bunch of foster homes, and every foster home I didn't feel welcomed there. I didn't really trust God. I had the idea in my mind that he wasn't good because like how could God put us through like what I've been through?
Like initially, we just talk and we let the kids talk and share what they want to share and don't share what they don't want to share. But they are so loved that entire week, and it opens so many doors for them to be able to let go of things that they don't have control of and able to forgive the past that wasn't their fault.
There was a leader that told his whole story, and then he shared a story about how he was abused, and I had the same thing happen to me, and him telling his story and how he forgave his person, I decided that maybe I could forgive the people that did stuff to me that was wrong. So that night, when we went to bed, I prayed about it, and I decided that I was going to forgive them, and I did. I started following Jesus at Royal Family Kids Camp. I knew who God was, but I didn't think he was nice or anything. And it just changed my whole perspective on him, and I learned that he is good.
The good news that we heard is that Angelina was to be adopted. She's our first camper from Royal Family Kids Camp Spokane to be adopted.
I have a family, and that's just like all I've ever wanted, and now I have a family.
I think over the course of the time that I have known her, she's just blossomed, and I think that a lot of that is just being in a family and feeling like she belongs, and the example that she got to see at Royal Family Kids Camp of who God is. I think there's so many foster kids here in Washington who need to be able to go to camp and to experience who God is and to be able to be a part of God's family.
All right, do we need to take a Kleenex break before we go on?
Royal Family Kids Camp, please.
Let's go to the next one. You know, I know sometimes you set the bar really high, and we should, but can we all just make a solemn commitment before God that if nothing else, when the kids come to our camp, they will understand that God is nice? You know, I mean, I hope, I don't wish for people's heart to be broken. That's God's job. But I think all of our hearts were a little broken that somebody would actually go through life, a child, and go, I knew there was a God, but I didn't think he was nice. So if we accomplish nothing else, we're going to show them that there's a God who loves them. All right. Let me do that and stop share. All right. Can I have 5 volunteers? And I now realize I should have put the verses up beforehand, so before I stop sharing. But do I have a volunteer to read Matthew 25:40? Say aye or put your hand up or something.
Oh, we need to find a.
So you got to unmute. We have a volunteer for Matthew 25:40. As everyone scrambles for their phone and their Bible.
Okay.
I can read. I can do that.
Okay.
All right. Can you say your name, please, so we know who
Carrie.
it is? Carrie. So
Johnson.
we got a Matthew 25:40. Do we have a Psalm 68:5?
I can do that one.
All right. Who's that?
Maria. Medford people.
Maria Medford. All right. Thank you. All right. And we're not going to do all these. How about we do Psalm 82, 3 and 4? We have a volunteer for that.
Oh, that's the next one.
I can do it.
Got it? All right.
What was the first psalm?
Psalm 68, 5.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So Matthew 25, 40. Can we go ahead and read that, please?
Yeah. The king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers or sisters of mine, you did for me.
Thank you. All right. Psalm 68, 5. I think that one's Medford.
A father of the fatherless, a defender of widows, is God in his holy habitation.
Can I have you lean slightly closer to the mic? I think we heard about half of that. My apologies.
Yeah. A father of the fatherless, a defender of widows, is God in his holy habitation.
Father to the fatherless. All right. And Psalm 82, 3 and 4.
Vindicate the weak and fatherless. Do justice to the afflicted and destitute. Rescue the weak and needy. Save them from the hand of the wicked.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. So as we read through the Bible, we see very clearly, I think all of us know this, so we don't need to belabor the point, but we see that God has a special spot in his heart for those who are weak, for those who are oppressed, for those who are powerless, for those who have had, horrible things happen to them in life, whatever's going on there, God is a special spot for them and wants to restore them. And it applies to everybody, especially to them when Jesus says, I have come that they might have life and might have it more abundantly. And this is one of the ways, it says very specifically orphans and widows. We're talking about foster kids, and we're going to talk a lot more about this next week, but realize every single kid at camp has had something bad happen to them. We don't want to belabor the point. The point of this is not to turn into something horrible where we share stories. It just makes everybody weep. But the fact is, they may have been abused. They may have been sexually abused. They may have been neglected. They may have been left home alone for days at a time. They may not have had proper medical care or nutrition, but every kid that's coming to camp has had something bad happen to them. And we have a command as Christians to go out and minister to them. Okay. So this is, let me hit this real quick. So this is not a church camp. It's not Northwest Church, but it is a faith-based camp. So just real quickly, what this means is, it means you're allowed to do faith-based items. We partner, Northwest partners with Royal Family, who partners with the state of Washington. And so we are still allowed to be faith-based. We're going to have a chapel there. We're going to pray during the day and at dinner. We're going to tell them Bible stories. We're going to sing Christian songs. So we are allowed to do those sorts of things. Absolutely, that's part of it. You're absolutely allowed to share your faith in a way that's natural, organic. We're not trying to thump anybody over the head, but to just share basic things like, oh, sometimes I pray over that, or I had this happen to me and here's how I handled that, or isn't it great to see those trees that God created? We're absolutely allowed to do that. We'll give you a longer list a little bit later in the training, but there are some limits on it. Since we're a faith-based camp, not a Christian camp, we can't do anything that could be construed as proselytizing. So we cannot say to little Jimmy, Jimmy, would you like to accept Jesus into your heart right now? Then pray along with me. It's just something that we can't do. We can't do anything that might be pressure where, if you want me to, that I know we wouldn't say this, but that could be interpreted. If you want me to still be your friend and like you, you have to do these sorts of things. Okay, a lot of these kids have been manipulated. Again, I know we're coming from a good place, but these are kids that have been told that love is conditional. So anything that could be interpreted as, I'll still love you, but you have to pray this prayer first. You have to believe these things. We can't do anything that could be interpreted that way. And the third one, it's an odd one. Bear with me. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but we can't do anything that's weird. Okay. And what that means, You can't anoint with oil. You can't lay hands. You can't cast out demons, stuff like that. Okay. The basic rule of thumb here that you're thinking of is what happens if this kid goes back to his foster parents? Okay. I think most of them, they're sending them to a faith-based camp. If they come back and say, my counselor prayed with me, we learned some songs, no one's going to have a problem with that. They sent them to this camp. On the other hand, if they said, they put oil on my forehead and everybody laid hands on me, that might seem a little weird. So we are kind of bound by that. We're trying to do just kind of in a non-confrontational way. We want to have a good relationship with the state. We want to keep a good relationship with these parents. So there are some boundaries around it. Okay. So I don't think I offended anybody, but are there any questions or comments on that slide? I'm pausing while people frantically look for the unmute button. No, we're good. Okay, so another part of being a faith-based camp is we might have people who are in fact not faith-based. Okay, so is it possible that you're going to hear some language there that either will horrify you, or if you work in the public schools, go, seems like a Tuesday. Okay, you might hear some language. There may be some really bad table manners with foster kids, a lot of times hoarding. You may see kids shoving hamburgers down their pocket or trying to do 8 bites at once and stuff like that. Don't go, work through it. We'll talk about some ways to handle that, but be aware, you may see sexual behavior, maybe acting out sexually. There may be kids who haven't been taught proper boundaries, so you might see that. You might see a fight. I actually had to have knee surgery one year. I'll share that story just so you understand. But one kid went after another kid with a plate, and we ended up tackling him, and he was so enraged, he dragged 3 counselors by putting his fingernails in the carpet, dragged 3 counselors about 5 feet across the dining room table. I don't say that to scare anybody. It's only happened a couple of times, but be aware, these are the lifestyles that some of them come from, and this is the way that they handle conflict is, I'm going to beat that kid up. Okay, and some of them have life stories that are either going to make you furious or break your heart. Okay, we're letting you know that just so that you go in with your eyes open on that. We'll give you lots of training over the next couple of weeks on how to deal with some of these situations. But the big thing is, don't react, love the kids, show them kindness. And if it's something that you feel is going to escalate or needs to be shared, then bring a leader into it. It's not your job to fix this situation. It's your job to do what? Love on the kids. All right.
I'll share a comment about language.
Please do.
This is a story from Orange County, the camp in Orange County, California. And I'll apologize in advance and ask for your grace, but it does end with an inappropriate word. And I've tried changing that word, and it just doesn't make the story work. But they have, in the middle of their week, what's called, girls get together, they get all dressed up, and they have tea with grandma. And the boys, they get together and they go out and slay giants. They throw rocks at trees, they jump on logs, and then they all get together and the director shares the gospel. In the middle of sharing, a little Hispanic boy raised his hand and said, "Who is Jesus?" So the leader stopped and just went in a little bit more into depth of who Jesus was and why he came. And he ended it by saying, Jesus was Jewish, born Jewish, and the Jewish religion leaders just hated him. So they killed him. And the little boy's eyes got really big, and he said, "Those son of a bitches." So you will get language that might shock you, but this is where those kids are coming from.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Tim.
So if we can't baptize them, if we can't, pray over them, why do we bother? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First off, we're commanded to. The Great Commission tells us to go and make disciples, and this is one of the ways that we do it. We're also commanded to love people. So we want to show love in a real, practical way to people who might not have experienced it. In fact, they may have had the exact opposite of love, called love. in their life. You know, as we talked about, conditional love. Do these things and I'll love you. We're loving them unconditionally, even when they're doing stuff like, you know, as Scott said, saying dirty words during Bible time. Okay. And the last one, yeah, Ecclesiastes talks about casting your bread upon the waters. One of the things that we do in Royal Family is we try and soak the days with as many opportunities as possible, because the fact is, you don't know what's going to speak to a kid. Maybe all the activities are great. Maybe riding a bike is great, but it might just be that sitting down at dinner and having a full meal in front of them and having someone listen might be it. But you're going to have dozens of opportunities to love these kids, to minister and to have meaningful moments with them. And please take advantage of as many as you can, because again, the Bible talks about cast your bread on 7 times, even 8. The point being, you don't know which one of those is going to be the one that reaches that kid's heart. And it'd be horrible if, because you were like, I'm tired, let's just kind of hang around, we missed out on a great opportunity for that kid that was going to be the one that kind of unlocked that kid's heart. So we're not saying we want you all to drop dead of exhaustion, although, you know, it's happened, you know, but we want to give those kids as much fun and as many meaningful moments as we can. What are some examples? We're not going to have all of these. This is the list for the 5-day camp, but you know, we've got prayer at camp. We've got 30 time, which is just quiet time in the cabin. We've got bedtime, which are a lot of kids share as they sit down. They'll share stuff with their counselors. We've got devotions. We've got singing songs. We've got playtime. The kids are going to get an MP3 player, which means they can listen to the songs that they learned this week and the drama that they heard this week. So they're going to have that to take home with them. Just sitting down and talking to someone. And this seems minor, but modeling behavior. You know, they may not have seen appropriate male-female interaction before. So you treating the opposite gender with respect, even that can be a meaningful moment. Failing and handling it right. Oh man, I screwed up. I'll do better next time, rather than going into a deep funk for the next hour. Okay? All right, so let me stop sharing. So our hope is that you guys are going to change these kids' lives, but we would also like your lives to change as well. What I want to do now is open it up. So time for the unmute button again. Can some of the counselors or the staff people share a meaningful moment that you've had? By that we mean not, I mean, it may be a big giant thing, but maybe it's just sitting while you're fishing and having a chat with the kid. What are some great just individual moments that you've had at camp, if you wouldn't mind sharing them in, let's say, 30 seconds to a minute? We'd like to get a couple of them in, okay?
So, we ready?
Yep.
Okay. So, I can't really remember the one, but there was a very brassy young lady who was probably in the area of 2nd, 3rd grade. And we were around the tent for the pets, the reptiles.
Mm-hmm.
And something occurred right there that gave me kind of like an illustration. I can't really remember what that was, but point is that they were going to reveal things to us to give us insight to where they're at, where they're coming from, why they want to be there, type of thing. The other one is the when they took off at the last day. The impact was very significant amongst the cabin mates. They had really developed a relationship with each other, and you could tell it's like if they were separating from their own brothers or sisters, you know, type of thing.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, someone else. What is a moment that mattered that you've had in your time at Royal Family?
I'll share one.
Please do.
My first 5 years of camp, there was one little boy who did not like going swimming. So during swim time, he would stay at the activity center with me. I would just be pittering around, cleaning things up. And he would always spend that time with me, just following me around and talking with me. And our 5th year, which is also the year he was going to graduate, he it was the first year that we had the pony rides, and the driver for the pony got lost, and he ended up coming around the circle at Black Lake and asking for directions. Well, this little boy saw those horses, and he was just so excited. He was jumping up and down. It's like, remember, it's a surprise. And he's like, okay, this is a surprise. He says, I know. And then he looked at me and he's like, really serious. He says, tomorrow I'll get my 5th memory book, and I'll get all of my stuff together. And he says, I have everything. I have all 5 books. I have all my t-shirts. I have all of my things I have made, and I'm going to keep them forever. And it was just, it showed me just how much what we were doing for this little boy. He was leaving our camp, and he was going to live with his aunts who were adopting him. But he was making sure that he was keeping everything.
Thank you, Sandra. All right. Any other stories to share?
I want to share.
Yeah, please do.
One year we had a boy at camp who he wanted to get his bracelet to swim in the deep end. A lot of you are probably going to remember this, but he kept trying every day. He kept trying, and he couldn't get the last lap down. And then that one day, all the counselors were around cheering him on, and that little boy made it that last lap and got his wrist bracelet. And he wasn't with me, obviously, because he was a little boy, but that was like such a big moment for that little boy to get that wrist bracelet. But for all of those counselors, there was people in the water on the side of him helping him, cheering him on the whole way. It was just like it really obviously touched my heart, but to see the joy in his face when he got out of that water, that's what this is all about, is those smiles that they come out with. And now I don't know, he probably still has that little wrist bracelet. That was just a really, really special time.
I remember that. That was Charlie, right?
Yep. I didn't want to say his name. I don't know if I could or not. But
we can't if it's a unique name, we don't, but Charlie's fine. Let me ask you this question, Debbie. Was there a single adult at camp who did not see Charlie's wristband by the end of the night?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that was an awesome memory. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other memories? I mean, we want to give people an opportunity to share if you've got one. Any other memories? Any other moments that matter?
I'll share one on behalf of a counselor.
Okay.
It was a story that he shared with us before. His little camper had a medical condition that made it very difficult for him to clearly talk. And I think growing up, the kids had made so much fun of him that he rarely said anything during camp. So we're walking towards the dining room, and there is a natural amphitheater with a cross at the bottom of the amphitheater, little fire pit, benches. And just as they were walking by, the sun broke out from the clouds and highlighted the cross. Now, during the week, everyone had made nail cross necklaces. So this little boy had his nail cross necklace hanging down. And he got down on his knees before the cross and stood on his knees for about a minute or two and then stood back up. And his counselor asked him, "Did you see Jesus in that sunlight?" And the little boy shook his head, smiled, pointed to the cross on his chest and said, "Jesus is here in my heart." Jesus meant so much to that little boy. And I still think about him even now. and pray for him.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. And thank you everyone who shared. Again, we want to stress that point is you never know. Notice most of those weren't organized, structured times. It was, it was swimming. It was hanging around someone in the activity center. It's walking to a meal. You never know when you're going to have that opportunity to just see that moment and have that happen for that kid. Okay, so we're going to take a break in a sec. We are now close to 2 hours into it. So I think you all look very much like you would like to sing, right? Now, we have to have one rule on this. Reading Deuteronomy and having it be chaos, that works awesome, okay? I think singing the Royal Family Kids song, we may want to keep everybody on mute, all right? But we're going to play the Royal Family, put it on mute, and I expect every single person, I'm watching you, every single person to stand up when we get to the swimming and splashing and having a good time. I better see every single person swimming. And when you get to Grandma and Grandpa, you give your best point to practice. I know we don't have Grandma and Grandpa here for you to see yet, but you're going to point to Grandma and Grandpa, okay? And what's the other one? Oh, the clap. Grandma, Grandpa, PMA. And a big clap right there. Am I missing any? If not, you'll figure it out. Watch the people on your screen. But we're going to start this up in a sec. We're going to belt it out, and then we're going to take a break. I think it goes 3 times, including all of you Broadway fans. You're going to get a nice modulation halfway through, so you can enjoy your key change there, okay? All right.
Headed for the Royal Family Kids Camp, headed for a lot of fun. It's great just knowing I'm a part of God's family, playing under the sun. Swimming and splashing and having a good time. Grandma, Grandpa, PMA and devotions, it's a great time. For the good news that God loves me. Headed for the Royal Family Kids Camp, headed for a lot of fun. It's great just knowing I'm a part of God's family, playing under the sun. Swimming and splashing and having a good time. Grandma, Grandpa, PMA and devotion, it's a great time. For the good news that God loves me.
Key change, everybody.
Headed for the Royal Family Kids Camp, headed for a lot of fun. It's great just knowing I'm a part of God's family, playing under the sun. Swimming and splashing and having a good time. Grandma, Grandpa, PMA and devotion, it's a great time. For the good news that God loves me.
Unmute. Hope everybody enjoyed that. We are at 4:56. I'm going to say 5:05, but I please mean 5:05. Please don't make that mean 5:08 or 5:15 because we're going to have to cut people down if we do that. So take a nice break, enjoy, keep singing that song to yourself and working on the choreography, and we'll see everybody back here at 5:05. Enjoy your break, everyone.
Darling, forgive me. We didn't have much time, but I wrote everything down.
Pretty quickly.
All right,
Amen.
welcome back, everybody. So we've got our last less than an hour to get through. We're going to kind of go, that was kind of the big picture, talking about royal family, a lot of new information. For those of you that are new, a lot of what we do now is going to be kind of quick fly through, bang, bang, bang. Some things we do, we'll actually do a lot more in depth later on. But again, since some of you are new to this, at least you're going to walk away going, okay, now I get what Royal Family Kids Camp is. Okay, so
we should probably spend a second or two and talk about snacks, since we've made such a big thing of snacks, at least for the new people.
Just Bring lots of snacks. Give 30% of them to Ed as the former director tax everybody has to pay. All right, so let's talk about what camp actually is. So the kids will be there on Tuesday. We're going to talk about Monday and Wednesday in a second, but the kids will be there on Tuesday, and I think everybody would agree that the highlight of Tuesday is always the 17th annual axe throwing championship. Okay, I'm kidding. No, we don't actually do that. But we had a big debate on your leadership team whether or not we're going to have it. And I hold out hope next year we'll be able to have axe throwing. So everybody let the leaders know that you would love to have axe throwing at next year's camp. And hopefully we can win. All right, what is actually going to happen on Terrific Tuesday? It's a lot. For those of you who like dangerous weapons, we still have them for you. Okay, we've got BB guns. We've got archery. We've got indoor rock climbing. We've got fishing. We've got buttons. And for those of you who go, well, that seems kind of weird, trust me, there'll be at least 2 campers who spend the entire day at the button making station. So we've got button making, good old fashioned duct tape wallets, a pine wood derby, bikes. Wow, we have so many, we can't even fit them in one column. Tea time with grandma, grandpa, mini golf, and boat rides. Okay, so that's kind of the activities. In addition to that, everyone get your best announcer voice out, but wait, there's more. All right. In addition to that, we have other activities built in. We have meal time for you to sit down and eat with your kids. We've got Bible stories. We've got drama. We've got singing. We've got gifts. And I'm not going to go into this in depth, but I'm going to tell you the gifts are awesome because one of the things that's great about being with Royal Family is if Scott gets to use a bad word, I get to use one bad word. That's it. But Royal Family does not believe in crap, okay? We will not go to the dollar store and buy kids dolls that are 5 years out of date, you know. Ooh, look, you know, it's an Incredible Hulk from 1983 action figure. We buy good stuff. We buy stuff that's up to date. We give them actual electronic devices. We're going to get them a nice bag or a backpack. They're going to get good stuff when they're there. You can be proud of it, okay? We'll have a graduation for people who this is their last year. We may have to provide free Kleenex for that part. And we're not done yet. In addition, there's kind of stuff that's built into it. Kids get to be in nature, which a lot of kids may not have been. So they get nature. They get an environment of support and safety. They get popsicles. You'd be amazed, okay? You get a chance for them to talk. And even better, for some kids, it's the first time to have someone actually listen to them. Okay, you going down on one knee and saying, sorry if I'm creeping everybody out, but saying, go ahead, Johnny, what was that you were saying? And then shutting up and listening to that kid for 3 uninterrupted minutes as he tells you this incredibly weird story about this time he caught a worm. No one may have ever done that. And so you spending 3 minutes listening to his worm story may be the thing that he remembers the most in camp. Okay, it gives him a chance to be a kid, and it gives them a chance to be loved. So that's 3 full pack slides out of just one day. We really want, you know, we don't quite want to put them in a coma, but whatever like 2 notches short of a coma is, we want to run those kids ragged, give them as much fun, as much love, as many activities as we possibly can over the course of our day. Okay, so that's Tuesday. Let's just real quickly talk about Monday. Kelly, I don't know about carpet ball. That's a good question, and we'll talk about that at the next leadership meeting. Marvelous Monday, we're asking you guys to arrive at 12:30. So that's in order to set up and get ready. You know, you see the basic list there. We'll have fellowship time. We'll have a chance to meet people, to have community, to say hi. We're going to unload and set up the truck, get the whole camp configured. We're going to give you a tour so that you don't have to ask, where's the bathrooms? You know, where can we go? Where can't we go? Where do we get food? We'll give you a tour. We're going to spend a lot of time decorating it and personalizing it. Ask anybody who's been there. This is something that the kids love. You know, I don't think anybody would say this, but for anybody who goes, oh, what's the big deal? You know, it's a little bit of construction paper and some glitter, or for guys, don't worry, we got your back, stickers and stamps, okay? You'd be amazed. You'll see kids clutching their stuff. They want to take it home with them. They put it on their bed. They may not have ever had something with their name on it. Something was made specifically for them. So we're going to give you time to make them great things, invest some time in it, do a good job, and be proud when those kids show up. When you go, here, I made this for you with your name on it. It's yours. Okay. We're going to have lunch or we're going to have dinner together there. We'll have a praise and worship service, and we'll have communion time. So that's Monday. Wednesday, after the kids have left, on Wednesday, for those who are there, we'll have breakfast. We'll have another praise and worship service. Hope you like praise and worship, everyone. We'll have a debrief. We will then take down and clean up. Everything has to go, so we'll load it up. We'll have lunch, and last but not least, we'll have hugs and tears. Everybody's favorite / least favorite time is saying goodbye. Okay? So any questions on the schedule? We're not getting into here's what we're doing 12:15 to 12:30, but does that make sense to everybody? Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday? I see a couple of thumbs up. Yes. Any questions for anyone?
I had a question.
Please do.
So the kids do sleep over. It wasn't clear in the email, but they do spend just one night?
No, they do not. We can spend the nights. We will run them ragged all day Tuesday, and that's it. They will go back. So they will go to Northwest Church. They will be taken on a bus to camp. They will run around like crazy monkeys. We will feed them. We will give them their stuff. We will load them back on a bus, and we will take them back to Northwest Church where the parents will pick them up, or foster parents, guardians. Okay?
I have a question.
Yes.
If we are not staying overnight, do we still come in for breakfast? Do we stay for dinner? Or is that just for the people that are staying overnight?
I assume so, but Scott, can you answer that, please?
If you can get to camp before 8 o'clock in the morning, you're welcome for breakfast. And if you want to stay for dinner, you are welcome for dinner.
I think, Scott, the way we had set it up right now is that breakfast is for those who are spending the night, but as long as we know if additional people are coming, we'll have to let the camp know. And dinner is for everyone. So the lunch and dinner that we're having at camp is for everyone, whether you're spending the night or not. Breakfast is for those who are spending the night. Unless you want to partake in that, then you just need to let Scott know. Send him an email that you're not staying the night, but you would like to be there for breakfast.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, we'd love to have you. Gail, you got a question?
We have to give the camp a count so
Yeah.
they know how many to prepare for, how many meals to prepare.
What
I
time
have a question. What time do we start on Tuesday?
What do you mean by we start? You mean what time are the kids at camp?
Yeah, so you're talking about breakfast and then the kids arrive at like 9 or what?
We're going to finalize that. So that's why we don't have a schedule, but it's probably going to be, what is it, around 10, I think, 9:30 or 10?
9:30 to 10 is, I think, when we were hoping that the kids
Somewhere in
would
that
arrive
window.
at camp.
Yep, because they've got to get to church, they've got to get signed in, and then they have to be, I shouldn't say
Well, we're
shipped. It makes them
talking
sound
about
like Amazon.
sign-ins as starting at 7:30 at church. That's why I was thinking they might be there pretty early.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, we're not saying that because we're not certain, but we'll have that at the third meeting probably. We'll give you a much more firmed up schedule.
Okay.
But that gives you at least a window.
One
All
more
right?
question, please.
Please. We'll even take two.
Are
Go
we
ahead.
going? Okay, are we going to decorate cabins this year or not? For
We
the
are
kids?
not. We're going to decorate the area, but not the cabins because the kids will not be there.
Oh, thanks.
But trust me, bring your glitter. We'll give you a place to use it. I promise you.
I will.
Good. Yay. We like glitter. All right. Any other questions?
The counselors will be making a name tag for their campers and a welcome banner. So when they get off the bus, we want to make a lot of noise and give them a royal welcome. And you'll have a banner with their name on it so that they can find you.
Is Sandria going to bring all of her like art stuffs, or do we need to bring our own?
I'll provide.
It'll be provided.
Have it.
All right. So that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now it is a one-day camp.
Question?
You know, yes.
Okay, so I'm on the upfront team, and of course, things are going to be a lot different this year than in the past. So And normally we start like 9 weeks ahead of camp. And so we're obviously not doing that. But are we doing some preparation for the skit or the drama or what's happening there?
Yes, you will, and we'll be in contact with you on that. So
Okay.
we're having those discussions now, and yes, we are not going to just show up and wing it and hope that it works out. Promise you that.
Thank you.
Quite welcome.
Tony is rewriting a 5-day skit for a 1-day camp. And I'm thinking that he'll meet with his team after the next training.
All right, so what you're missing, we want you to come back next year. Oh, I'm sorry, my battery's about to run out. So please come back next year. It's a 5-day camp. We want to just show you real quickly a few of the things in the 5-day camp. We really hope that nobody goes, oh, shoot, now I feel really awful. That's not the goal, but the goal is for you to go, we're going to have a great camp this year, and I got to come back next year and try it out. For example, one of the things that's great is everybody who attends gets a free iguana.
No.
Isn't that what that is? Oh, okay. Nope. Someone talked about reptile. If you're there for the 5 days, we have activities. You know, we've had movie nights. We've had the reptile guy there. So there will be activities every single day that the kids get to participate in. They are spending the night. This is the ladies where they will stay. The men have their own little, what sort of I'm looking for? Tiny houses. Cabins. That's the word. Cabins. So the men do that. Yeah, we have physical activities. They're up in the morning games. I think this is whatever the game is with wolf in it. That's basically Red Rover, but you know, with snarling and claws. So we have that. We've got the water slide, big old giant water slide. And if anyone says, okay, that looks terrifying, but you actually put people on? Yes, we do. So the kids get to go, and counselors too, get to go flying down that water slide, and it actually ends up in the lake. So they get to do that. We line the whole thing so it's safe. We've got people in the lake to catch them if anything happens, but the kids get to go flying down there, and it is an entire afternoon, and it's a blast. Okay? They get swimming time, and we have a birthday party. So they get cupcakes, they get presents. You know, it's Thursday night. They have a bunch of activities, and it's just, again, it's a way for us to say, you guys are awesome. You guys are great. Some of them may never had a birthday party. I had one who said that. Another counselor had a kid whose dad said he would give him a birthday party, but it was on a $10 budget. You know, I mean, and again, the point isn't to make us feel horrible, but to say, this is our chance to step into that breach and say, you are awesome and wonderful, and this is the kind of thing that you are worthy of as a child of God. So we have that, we have the birthday party for the kids. Okay? So that's what goes on at camp. I really don't want to spend 2 hours on the rules, but we have to at least touch on them. So let's talk on the rules. If you have a question, ask, but I think we're just going to fly through them. Okay, number one, hi everybody. How you doing? Let's talk about the 200-pound elephant in the room, and that's COVID. We've got a really brief announcement on the rules on COVID. Number one, leadership will decide. Okay, real simple. Your leadership team is trying to weigh all the interests. We're honestly having discussions, and we're not supposed to call them arguments, but they're friendly arguments that we're having. People are advocating positions, but we're going to decide what the camp policies are, and the expectation is very simply that you will follow. If for any reason you can't, please don't send us Facebook pages and links. But if for some reason you can't, we understand it might not be a good fit for you this year. But I think most of us have already crossed that path and said, okay, whatever the camp decides, we're going to follow it. Some potential things that may show up, and sorry, the COVID virus just ate one of them, but masks, possibly, definitely hygiene, you know, hand washing, and possibly some moderated social distancing. Again, a lot of it depends upon what's happening, so we're not going to sit here and lay out this week, here's all the different things that are going to happen. We're just going to say your leadership team is weighing it. The basic thing is we're trying to strike a balance between making sure these kids are safe, especially because a lot of them might be coming from abuse and neglect and be immunocompromised and be at high risk for it. But on the other hand, we don't want to be the masked Nazis, the 6-foot Nazis walking around and going, hey, you guys are only 5.5 feet. Let's have another 6 inches there. So we're going to try and strike a balance between keeping the kids safe and making it a fun, enjoyable time. Okay, that's my 120 seconds on COVID. The big one at camp is what's called the 2 deep rule. And what that means very simply is you will never be left alone with a child, period. End of sentence. Never, ever, 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 ever. Should never happen. And if it is, there's going to be a talk immediately when it happens. Okay. There are always 2 adults with a child at every time. Okay. And that is for their protection, for your protection, for royal family protection, for Northwest Church protection. It just doesn't happen. So if you're with a kid, look around. There needs to be another adult. So if we have people under the age of 17, technically they don't count. You have to have another adult there. And for those of you that are father, daughter, or husband and wife, you cannot be related. Okay. And the basic, we don't want to get into a basic thing is if anything ever happened, if it was 2 people who were related, that testimony wouldn't be considered as relevant as 2 people who weren't related to each other. Okay. So again, 2 adults, look around at all times. Are there any exceptions? Not really, but the one kind of sort of exception is if you're at some place like out on the lawn where there's lots of people around and you're always in eyesight of other people. You don't actually have to go physically grab a person and say, will you come stand next to me? But the rest of the time, always 2 adults there, always at all times. Even if you're at that place, like let's say you're on the lawn and your kid has to go to the bathroom, then you need to be taking another adult with you. Same thing at meals. Your kid has to go to the bathroom. You need to find another adult and have them go with you. So one last time, never, ever, 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 ever left alone with the child. Any questions on that one? I think that one, I've berated everybody enough on that one. I'll be nicer for the rest. Okay. Reporting abuse. We are a mandatory reporter. So if your camper says something where you're worried that he might be in an abuse situation or they're sure that something has happened, you don't get to make the decision on that. That doesn't sound that bad. You report it to Karen, we report it, and we decide if it's something that we need to then report up the chain, but we don't want you. And again, that's for your protection. We don't want Gail, no offense to Gail, Gail's awesome, has been doing this for years. Gail shouldn't be the one making the decision whether or not potential abuse should be reported. She's awesome, but she's not trained in this, okay? Yeah, Gail's making the, I don't want to do that face. Excellent, perfect face to make, Gail, okay? So if your kid shares something, you've got a little bit of concern, seek out a director, seek out Karen especially, and it needs to be reported, okay? Again, any questions on that one? Pretty self-explanatory because there is no gray area. All right, if there's any medical issues, someone falls, someone might be hurt, someone says their tummy hurts, any of that, let the nurses handle it because they are fabulous. Seriously, let them handle it. You have kids who maybe were told they couldn't go to a hospital or may have had injuries inflicted on them by a parent. You would be amazed at how fantastic it feels for those kids to have someone take their injuries seriously, to walk them over to the nurse's station, for the nurse to put some Bactine on their knee, to put a Band-Aid on it, to let them sit there, to talk with them until they feel better, or if their stomach hurts or whatever, and then have them go. To validate that injury, to validate that tummy ache can be a very powerful thing. So I know sometimes you have kids who you go, that kid's faking it. That's not your job. Your job is to take the kid to the nurse's station, let the nurses decide what's going on. Okay? So that's medical issues. Some other ones to be aware of. We won't run into all of these, but at Royal Family, the beds stay private. You're never to be on a kid's bed, okay? The possessions are private. Again, not going to deal with that as much so on a one day, but you shouldn't be rifling through a kid's backpack or bag or anything unless you've got a really good reason. Like for example, if you mentioned that he had a knife or something like that. And honestly, you're probably going to want to be bringing someone in at that point in time, okay? Personal touch. Hey, Greg and Sandra, I see you guys. So can you show us a Christian side hug? That's a little on the friendly side there, Sandra. There you go. That's the Christian side hug. Hey, Sandra, would you mind demonstrating what happens if a kid, tries to do that? They love you. It's great. It's great. What do you do, Greg? Yep. Greg's just getting free hugs at this point in time. This is awesome.
You redirect.
So you redirect them and as soon as possible without like running away or putting your hounds out or anything like that. That's Greg's job, right? You redirect them to the side and give them that Christian side hug, okay? And by the way, only do that if it's okay with the kid. I know you think giving a hug, giving a high five, giving them an attaboy, a friendly sock on the arm, however it is you say I love you in your, male or female manner, whatever that is, way to go, kid. Ask them first, because you never know when something that you do might be the exact same way that an abuser dealt with them. So a high five, a hug, something like that might be exactly what that abuser did. So always ask them first until you get to know your campers better. It seems stupid, but great job. Is it okay if I give you a high five? That's all it takes. Great job, man. Mind if I put my arm around and give you a big side hug? Way to go, kiddo. Ask first, okay? There should be no medication out at the camp. It should all be in the nurse's office. And you say, well, okay, but this is only bug spray. This is only a sleeping aid or something like that. Everything needs to go to the nurse's station, okay? If it is medicine, if it is over the counter, don't say it's non-prescription. It all goes there. If you have any doubt, you ask the nurses and they will say, yes, you may keep your chapstick, or yes, you may keep your whatever, or no, you may not keep your EpiPen, but thank you for letting us know that. Let's have a talk about how we're going to handle this, okay? But everything needs to go to the nurse's station, both for you and for your campers, okay? And then the last one on this slide is name tags. Everybody at the camp should have a name tag. If you see a person, because there are going to be other camps going on in our area without a name tag, don't accost them. Don't chase them off with a baseball bat, but very politely, in love, say, hey, who are you? Why are you here? Oh, you're at another camp. That's awesome. You know what? This space is reserved for our camp. Can I ask you to go around, please? Something like that. But we want to tell those kids there will be nobody without a royal family name tag around you so that they can feel safe. And there's people walking through there. We never know. So everybody should have that name tag on. Okay? Any questions on these? We good? All right. I think we've got two more on the rules, and then we'll wrap that part up. A right to privacy. We're not going to get into every single permutation of this on this, but the basic thing is don't share anything, especially on social media. So even you heard Debbie, God bless her. Thank you, Debbie. She wasn't comfortable even saying the name Charlie out loud. I would say that's okay, but I've had campers who they have very individual names. I change their name when I tell the story. I call one of my guys Dennis instead of what his name was, unless I'm talking to like my wife or something like that. So don't share any personal identifiable information with them. No photography at all, which shouldn't happen because you don't have your cell phone on you. Hint, hint, hint. No photography. Don't share anything on social media that says where we're going to be. So it's fine to say, we're going to camp this week. Please pray for me. We're heading to Royal Family, but don't say we're going to Black Lake Bible Camp. Okay. And as much as possible, don't post stuff where it's tagged where someone can see where you're at. Okay. So just really try and be on a social media fast. And if you're sharing it, make sure that it's kind of stripped of all that identifying thing. Again, we're not going to make you go in and turn off every single tracking in your app. We're not quite to that level yet, but do your absolute best to make sure that information isn't shared out. Okay. And then the last one, because the other two we talked about, this seems really weird, but don't share your personal information with the campers, because the rule is they go away, and unless they come back, you're not going to see them again. That's the way that it's set up. That's the way it's supposed to be. I know that may be the single hardest thing about camp, and we get that. But the fact is, you don't want to tell them what school you teach at. You don't want to tell them your last name, because they may show up on your doorstep one day. Okay, or they may seek you out, and we've had this happen occasionally, find you on Facebook and send you a friend request, send you an email, stuff like that. So you're Gail, you're Dave, you're Greg. Sorry, you're the top three on my screen there, and that's who you are. You're not Greg Didion who works at such and such a place, because we want to avoid that. So give them your name, and if they ask, say, you know what, it's just the camp rules. I'm not allowed to share that information with you. Sorry, and then redirect as fast as possible. All right, and then our last one, I'm going to skip that and get to here. We already talked about this, but we talked about religious policies. This is kind of a list of, these are things which should not happen at camp when the campers are there. All right? All right, so any questions on the rules? Hearing none, he proceeds.
I have a different question.
You have a different question. We'll take different questions. Go ahead, different question.
Well, it just occurred to me that normally when we stay overnight, we park our cars back behind the cabins.
Mm-hmm.
We're riding bicycles, so where should we park?
I'm assuming we'll park in the same place, but we will get that information to you when we get there, because you're going to be arriving on Monday and there'll be no campers there. So if there's a specific place to park, we'll share that with you. Okay.
I have a comment on the rules there. You said no medications in the cabins, but this year there's not going to be any kids in the cabins. Is that going to matter?
It's still no medication, and that's why, sorry, it says that on the slide, but what I said was no medication anywhere around the kids. So thank you for drawing everyone's attention to that. So all medications should be in the nurse's station. You shouldn't be walking around on the lawn with something in your pocket, even if it's basic, like I have a couple of aspirin or something like that. Okay, thank you, Sandra. All right, anything else? All right, then.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
This is for Jeff. I want to know if that is fresh spinach or crispy baked.
Yeah, this is fresh.
Okay.
He's a man's man. He's eating it out of the bag, man. Good for you, Jeff. All right. Let me share screen real quick. And Karen, you are up. So Karen is going to talk to us just a bit about some of the things that we've talked about, which is how can I take this one-day camp, which may seem very minor, but how can I use that to bond and share with my kids in a one-day camp? So let me get this going for you.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be able to share some ideas with you. The things that I bring to the table here are some equipping of the saints here with some social skills, some communication skills, some ways of handling difficult personalities, or even identifying different kinds of personality styles with the kids. And so, as you see on this particular screen, I wanted to include some of the fun stations that we have. And then we're ready to go to the next slide. I'm going to be putting some tools here in your hands, and my guess is that some of you already know some things. I want you to put yourself for a moment in the position of the kids the night before camp. The night before camp, perhaps the parents or siblings, older siblings, could be mandating, oh, you got to go to sleep, you got to go to sleep, you got to pack, you got to do this, you got to do that. And if you don't do that, you're going to get in trouble. You never know how a kiddo is being groomed to get ready for camp. And we'd all like to think that it's happy and it's exciting and it's fun, but it could be really stressful for them. They might even be threatened that if they don't do this, they won't get to go. And so they are kind of jumbled up. They could be a little stressed when they're coming there in the morning. So what we've got is that they're having to wake up really early to get to our church by 7:38. And they could be in a real negative morning kind of situation. There also could be medication kinds of effects or side effects. And so, they might not just be bebopping along with a great big smile on their face. And we need to be pretty chill, pretty cool about that kind of thing, and be kind of patient and not be sort of expecting the smile. We want to be able to just be warm, have unconditional love, come alongside of the situation if they have any questions, without this pressure that they have to be happy, excited, and, oh, camp is this because we've got a transition thing going on. Not only for them, but for all of us. We're all transitioning from a 5-day camp to a 1-day camp and trying to cram a lot of fabulous things. It'll be like Disneyland for them. So if they feel So depending on the kind of personality of camper we have, they might handle all of that transitional stress a little bit differently. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. If you want to have a copy of these slides, you can check with Scott or Tim. But this is what you might, just knowing what I've just shared. I hope that you come prepared to be chill and calm yourself, and to have a lot of grace and a long rope, so to speak. But if you could, number one, provide a warm, friendly welcome. It says here, use the connecting handout as a guide. You're automatically going to get an email of a fabulous tool that is great not only for camp, but for marriage, for relationships, for your own parenting with kids or Sunday school. Anytime you're with another person, it's really great to beef up your skills on how to be an effective connector. I hope you love the handout, because it's loaded. It's something you want to take one line and say, how do I apply this to my life? How do I apply this to camp so that I can connect well and build a relationship? It's really a lot to say, to connect and build a relationship in one day with a camper that might be having transition and stress going on at the get-go. So I'm going to give you a couple of ideas here. They should have, number two, have a fun get to know you, an icebreaker. And I'm going to talk to the team here about some ideas, about some icebreakers that came to my mind recently. And you might have some of your own, but there's like that favorite game where you say, well, what's your favorite color, or what's your favorite video game, or what's your favorite food, that kind of thing. And it kind of helps you get to know your little camper in a short amount of time. We want to observe. There's another word for that, notice. We want to observe some things about our camper, and I'm going to share more about what you're going to want to observe on the second slide. We're going to want to engage. How do we engage? How do we talk to our camper? You're going to get more training on and more equipping on how, if you feel a little rough in your skills, if you haven't been around kids for a while, if it's not your strong suit, believe me, you have a fabulous support system, and you will learn some amazing tools in our trainings, and just watching some of the other people that have been here for a long time. You know, when we listen well, we're being attentive. When we listen well, we're being present. And part of that is getting to their level. And Tim kind of gave us a little visual on that. It's a little hard with Zoom to do that, but you might look like getting down on one knee and looking eye to eye with them, or sitting on a bench while they're standing and looking eye to eye. And when they're talking, don't be looking around. Don't be, just curious about what is going on. Just give them that eye to eye contact, and that you're listening. And oftentimes when you're doing that, you're also kind of nodding. You're looking interested. I want you to do more than look interested. I want you to be interested. And how we do that is we ask them some curious questions. Not just any old question, but curious. Like if they tell you one thing, ask something curious to go a little farther, a little like, what was that like? Or what happened then? Or what kind of choices were going on in your mind when that thing happened? But you want to ask, number 6, open-ended questions like, how did such and such, or what happened then, or why? Tell me about such and such. If you want to learn more about how to do that and get well skilled in every relationship that you have, you can Google open-ended questions and get a little bit of a tutorial online about it. It's really helpful. Remember that this camping day, this camping 3 days, it's not about you. It's not about how comfortable you are or feeling insecure about your skills. It's not about questioning and doubting yourself. If you tend to worry about, am I good enough? You are good enough. You've gone through the interview. We have said you are good enough. And we know that in Christ, with him on the threshold of our hearts, we are all that he is. And so he considers us good enough to love these kids and walk alongside of them for this camp. All right, let's go to the next slide. The next slide is about this idea. This would be one to kind of read later, but we want to notice and observe what kind of temperament of kid, especially here you have your assignment, you have your name of who you're going to have as you being the counselor of this particular kiddo, and they're in transition, remember, and they don't know how to feel safe yet at the moment because everybody's a stranger. The camp is strange. They might have had an upset on the way to camp. And so we don't know what kind of temperament they have. So I described them here. One is the mild temperament. This is the kid who is slow to warm up, standoffish. They're kind of fearful. They act insecure. They might be quiet. They might not answer your questions quite yet. They might be shy. One of the kiddos that just really was withdrawn, really was this 10-year-old young man. And I had the most meaningful time connecting with him because we started to play football together. And we were throwing the ball back and forth. And the next thing I know, he was talking. And so there are different ways to work with kiddos that have this kind of temperament, that are slow to warm up. They might stick close to your side. They might want to, like this little boy, he's leaning in. Now, I couldn't find a perfect picture, but this is absolutely the wrong thing that we would want to do with a camper, because while they're insecure and they want that kind of hug, if they come to you all of a sudden, don't be shocked and say, oh, I'm not supposed to hug you this way. Just kind of get down on your knee and slide around and ask them, is it okay if I give you a side hug, kind of thing. But they might want to be really close because they're not feeling safe at the moment. They're feeling apprehensive about camp. They might struggle with this transitioning idea, and they're slow to warm up. That doesn't mean they never warm up. It might take them till about 11 o'clock to warm up, or until you're doing your favorite thing with their favorite thing, like maybe be at the bow and arrow or rock climbing, and then all of a sudden, boom, they've come alive. They're feeling like they can trust camp and they can trust you. A moderate temperament is your easy child. This is a secure kiddo. They're at camp and it's kind of like drop everything and run. And they're just really here for the fun, and they just want to enjoy everything about camp. Maybe they've been here before, maybe not, but they know fun is ahead, and they're kind of the easy one. The resistant temperament is the difficult child. This kid might be a little more oppositional, a little bit, by like the look on this kiddo's face, a little bit more argumentative, might be a little mouthy, might be the one where you might hear some cussing and foul language. One time I was with Ed, Sol, and Rick, and we had one of those challenging kids that fell into this resistant, difficult child. He was foul as foul can be, and he was really acting out on some of the other kids. But we took him aside, went upstairs, and all he wanted to do was tell his life story. And we listened. And then he came back, and he was good. And so it's really nice to know if you have a little tougher little customer there, that you might let the admin team know, let any one of us know, and we can be right there keeping an eye and being help if it's a little challenging for you, if the person, little kiddo, appears strong-willed or opposes going along. Okay, next slide. The little heart there means, and we're going to love them unconditionally. That's what the hearts are there for. Okay, next slide. So 4 helpful tips. We've already talked a little bit about this one. Spiritually prepared. Be in your word. The word gives us wisdom. The word is power. The word is light. The word is life. We want to be anointed when we go in and have the Lord just breathe the words that we need to say and the encouragement we need to say to these little campers. Select a prayer partner, or 2 or 3 or 5, like Tim suggested. Physically prepare. Number 2, sleep well. Eat a balanced diet. Don't come in exhausted and having a big sugar high for the previous week. Keep your protein balance going on. And you know, in this COVID world, one of the things that I deal with the most are people feeling more stressed and more anxious than usual. And if you're struggling with that, it's a good idea to learn how to de-stress yourself and have some calming techniques on board, like deep breathing or different ways to reduce stress. And if you're interested in any kind of a handout on ways that you can reduce stress, let Tim know, and then he can let me know, and we can get a handout to you on that. But this breathing to relax is the way to do it. If any moment you feel a swell of some kind of angst, or you know you're feeling a little bit anxious about something, you can do deep breathing at any moment. And one of the nicest things to do about deep breathing is sometimes just put your hand on your chest as if you're giving yourself a little hug, and then do your slow, very slow inhale. And we'll practice this again later. And you want to hold your breath for about a count of 4. The count of 7. So you breathe in very slowly. You hold it for the count of 7. And then you slowly exhale for the count of 8 until you're completely emptied. And you do that 2 or 3 times. And you've just told your body that you're safe. You're not in a dangerous situation, because anxiety is really a lot about feeling like you're a little bit out of control. So we want to get back in control, and we start, number 1, with how we deep breathe. Number 3, practice being present. We already talked about that on the previous slide. This is so important in all of your relationships. You know, we can do the walk-by communication. That's not so intimate, not so deep, not that people don't feel well listened to, that kind of thing. But when we are present, we're really listening. We're really looking into somebody's eyes. We're showing interest. We're asking curious questions. And we're giving them that kind of feedback. We're listening really well. And again, practicing those open-ended questions. And then lastly, the last slide that I wanted to share. Let's see. Remember, as Christians, the Holy Spirit lives within. And as that Holy Spirit is in us, he radiates through us to our royal family kids. And all of the benefit of knowing Christ, of drawing near, of imitating him, is the best counsel in the world, because as we draw near, that fruit of the Spirit grows, and then it's his love and his joy and his peace and his patience, his kindness, his goodness, his gentleness, and his self-control. So I just wanted to end with, I was growing up at a time when there wasn't CPS, or there wasn't the kind of systems that are in place for fostered kids. And I was growing up in a really tough family environment. It was really interesting. The people that lived across the street, we had the same last name. And I knew that our side of the street, we were having real troubled home. On the other side of the street, they were living out the fruit of the Spirit in their life. And I could see it. They didn't have to open their Bible. They didn't have to preach to me. They didn't have to do anything but show me that there's a different way to do life. And I knew they went to church. I knew they went to Sunday school. I went over to their house. They sparkled at each other when they talked, and they nurtured each other. They had a completely different lifestyle than what I was exposed to. Without words, it was that draw that led me to Jesus Christ. And over on their property, in one summer day, not only was it their testimony, but a mailman came by and witnessed to me. And this is for the benefit of our team down there in Medford. The mailman came by, and he decided to be brave and bold and open up the conversation about getting saved. And he said, do you know, not that we would do this with our kids, do you know what would happen if you would die in a car accident? Do you know if you'd go to heaven or not? And I didn't know, but I knew that I wanted to know. And I knew that I wanted heaven, and I knew I wanted to know how I could be a part of knowing God and following Christ. So it was through somebody else living out the fruit of the Spirit in their life that led me to the Lord Jesus. And I wanted to just end with that and say that's who we are to those campers. And it is our prayer that those campers go on in life and say, I want what I experienced at Royal Family Kids Camp. So thank you, Tim.
Unmute. All right, there we are. Sorry. Okay, so we've got a few minutes left. What we want to do is just kind of really quickly wrap up, kind of summarize what we talked about today, and then we're going to close in prayer briefly. And the last thing is we want to put you guys into your breakout rooms to answer one question, and then we're actually going to leave from the breakout rooms from there. So just to kind of summarize, we've talked about this in bits and pieces, but we want to say it very explicitly right now. This is a mission trip and all that that entails. Sometimes people think of this as a charity or a social event or stuff like that. Those are all true, but this is a mission trip and all that that entails. It means you're under the authority of the church. It means that you can expect a spiritual component to it. It means that you can expect attacks. It means that you need to be in the Word. It means that you need to have prayer support. It means that you can expect that something beforehand is going to go horribly wrong and have that prayer team ready to pray and support you in advance. So in the same way that if you guys are going on a 10-day medical journey to, Guatemala to give medicine to them, sometimes this feels like that isn't that, because it's not, we're not going to hand Bibles out to people or something like that. We really want to stress, treat this the exact same as you would any mission trip where you're involved in the church. So the question I want to ask you guys, and that you're going to answer in your group, is what you need to do before camp. Okay. And there's probably a long list. Some of it might be logistics. Oh, I need to go buy this thing. I need to ask for time off work. Some of it might be health. Karen talked about that. A few people have said, I've got that pandemic 20 or something like that. And I need to maybe have some spinach like our friend Jeff over there, right? Or maybe walk past the McDonald's instead of to the McDonald's or something like that. I have no idea. But there's that, and then there's also the spiritual component. So ask yourself very explicitly, what message do I want to give to my kiddos? Okay. And please don't say I want them to know that Jesus loves them. We all answer that, and we want that for everybody. And don't say I want them to be safe. That's a fabulous answer, but we're all going to say that. We want you to start grappling with what is the very specific message over the course of that time I have with my kids that I want them, that God wants to use my lips, my ears, maybe by listening, my feet, my hands. What message does God want me to share with these kids? Okay. So Scott, can I have you close us in prayer? And then what we're going to do is put you guys in your breakout rooms, have that discussion and pray with each other, and you're dismissed so you can leave from the breakout room. So we want to give you one last chance to kind of meet in small groups and pray with each other. So,
all right. Father God, we thank you so much for this opportunity for us to serve you, Father. We thank you for the blessings that we know that these kids will receive. We have faith that you will work mightily in their lives. Even though this is only one day, we know that you can do so much in an instant. You created the universe in an instant. You will touch their lives in a day. Thank you for the training that we've been given. We know that it is sound. We know that it is sponsored by you. And Father, we just ask you to be with all of us until our next training day. May these words, these ideas that we have, make them take root, and you would be holding to our heart. And finally, Father, you know each one of the kids by names. We ask that you protect them, you hold them safe, you protect them from the evils of our enemy. And we look forward to the day when we will get to see them in June. In Jesus' precious name, amen.
Amen. All right, Liv. So you're all going to go to your breakout rooms again, just real quickly, kind of share what's one thing I need to do before camp, pray in a small group, and then we'll see you guys in June.